Chapter 2. The Crisp Egg Mayo Sandwich. Bob had been walking for some time, and the vent was well and truly out of sight. The never-ending floor gave the disorientating feeling that he wasn't progressing, as if the floor were a treadmill, stopping when he stopped, moving when he moved. Adding to the disorientation were the constant waves of anxiety that came with not knowing who he was or where he was. The PA voice kept repeating, "Make your way to the nearest exit." However, the idea of an exit being near anywhere in this weird factory landscape seemed ridiculous. As he contemplated their situation, a lump formed in Bob's throat, his palms started sweating, and his breathing became erratic. Bite yipped excitedly from the raincoat pocket, nuzzling Bob's side. The affection and another puff on the blue inhaler calmed him. The pattern of rising inner turmoil and comfort from Bite continued as they walked. "Oh, this factory is maddening," Bob said to Bite, receiving a friendly yip in response. He had stopped momentarily to rest his weary feet and attempted to bury an overriding feeling of despair. "Well, this is getting very frustrating and tiring. What I wouldn't give for a drink and something to eat." A series of bongs chimed, and the PA voice returned. "Affirmative, please wait." The bongs sounded again, this time in descending tones. Bob was startled by a clattering sound behind him. He turned around just as a plate in a camping canteen settled on the floor, as if placed with some annoyance by an invisible hand. The canteen wobbled, threatening to topple over, before settling upright. Bob crouched to inspect the elaborate blue and white Wedgwood-designed plate. On the plate was a sandwich, neatly cut into triangles, and some crisps loose out of their packet. Bob picked up one of the sandwich triangles to discover it was egg mayonnaise and cress, his favourite. He crunched a crisp. Salt and vinegar, also his favourite. Bob began devouring the sandwich hungrily, putting some crisps into the second triangle to create a crisp egg mayo sandwich. His feasting was interrupted by a soft whimper from the raincoat pocket. Bob felt a pang of guilt. Here he was practically inhaling food, not thinking Bite might also be hungry. Bob put down the remains of the crisp egg mayo sandwich, then fished Bite out of the raincoat pocket and popped him down next to the plate. "Sorry. Have some if you want. Go ahead." Bite sniffed the crisp egg mayo sandwich and took a step back, clearly unimpressed. Bob decided to get a drink for Bite instead and reached for the camping canteen. Unscrewing the lid, he put his nose to the rim and sniffed. There was no noticeable scent. Peering inside, he saw only a clear liquid. Cautiously, he took a sip. Water, thank goodness. After taking a few gulps, Bob poured a small amount onto the floor near Bite, who eagerly lapped it up. After the success of the sandwich and crisps, Bob was curious about what else the PA lady could conjure. The nauseating memory of the dog pictures prevented him from making a long food order, including a burger, chips and a milkshake. He didn't fancy doing any of that anytime soon. As he looked down at the small ball of fur still lapping up the water on the tile, the guilt returned. He should really get something for Bite to eat. Bob sucked a breath through his teeth, trying to muster up some bravery, then tentatively asked, "Please may I have a bowl of dog food?" Bob immediately reeled, half closing his eyes in anticipation of something terrible happening. Instead, the bongs chimed, followed by an affirmative. The bongs then chimed in descending tones. Out of thin air, a metal dog bowl filled with dog food faded into existence a centimetre above the floor and clanged onto the tiles. Bite's head lifted excitedly from the water. Then he trotted to the dog bowl. It was an average-sized dog bowl, but it looked enormous next to Bite, or rather, Bite looked tiny next to it. After several failed attempts by Bite to scramble up the side of the bowl, Bob took pity and emptied some of the food onto the floor. Without hesitation, Bite tucked into his feast. Smiling affectionately, satisfied he'd managed to care for Bite, Bob picked up the last crisp egg mayo sandwich triangle. Some time later, Bob was very full. After cautious requests for toast, cereal and chocolate, he had thrown caution to the wind and requested an entire feast. Burgers, fries, pizza, steak, trifle and apple pie were all scattered on the floor in various half-eaten states. Bite was equally full, lying on his side, thoroughly content. The bizarre day had been exhausting. Wait, had it been a day? It certainly feels like it. Yawning, Bob curled up on the floor in a gap among the plates. and his eyes started to close. Working out who he was and where he was would have to wait until he'd had a nap. Bite nuzzled into Bob's chest, and in no time at all, they were both fast asleep. "What's going on? What's that racket?" Bob woke with a start. A noise like an air raid siren filled the air. It was far darker than before he'd fallen asleep, dim and grey, like the period just before sunrise, neither night nor day. "Where is Bite?" Bob frantically searched for his new friend and spotted him among the remnants of a black forest gateau, bolt upright and whimpering. Relieved he knew where Bite was, Bob scanned around for any danger that might match the ominous siren. The dim grey light made it hard to see. It was as if the whole area were out of focus. "What's that over there?" Red light bobbed far off in the distance. As Bob strained to see, he stepped forward and stood on a plate with 2 leftover pizza slices. The plate clattered, making Bob jump, curse and look down. When he looked back up, the lights appeared closer. Squinting, he could make out 6 lights. What's that noise? Not the siren, which was still going, but a scraping noise, like fingernails down a chalkboard, or maybe more like metal down a chalkboard. The siren was very distracting. "Please stop the siren!" Bob shouted. Following the usual bongs and an affirmative, the siren stopped. The metallic scraping noise was clear now. It was multiple scraping noises overlapping, and the lights were even closer. Yes, there were 6 lights. No, wait, 3 pairs. Eyes. Behind each pair of eyes was a looming, shadowy mass. Bob felt a foreboding feeling in his gut. "Turn the lights up," Bob said in a panic. Bong, bong, bing. Affirmative. Bing, bong, bong. The air became as bright as before he'd slept, and Bob spotted the danger. Still far away on the horizon, but close enough to make out, were 3 red-eyed metal monsters. The scraping noises were claws on the tiles as the red-eyed beasts ran on all 4s towards him. "Run, run, you idiot. Move, now. Run!" Bob turned and simultaneously picked up Bite, who he dropped into the raincoat pocket, then he ran. Bob tried to run faster than his legs would carry him, so he kept stumbling. The tatty, high-top trainers had frayed laces that affected his running gait as he tried to avoid tripping on the aglet of the left lace, which clicked on the floor in front of his right foot every time around. The stumble run was made more difficult because he kept turning to look over his shoulder at the oncoming eyes. During one glance, Bob saw long metal shard teeth in a metal snout. The beasts were closing at pace. The serrated claws continued their relentless, terrifying scraping. These beasts appeared to be made entirely of metal that jutted from their hides, rusty and deformed, as if one of those giant magnets in a scrapyard had picked up random scrap metal and formed it into wolves. 3 terrifying, red-eyed metal wolves. Bob's fear level rose to a crescendo. Trying to run faster, he gently gripped the outside of the raincoat pocket to ensure Bite didn't fly out onto the floor. "Where's the exit? Please, please, I need directions." Bong, bong, bing. Affirmative. Showing directions to the nearest exit. Please wait. Bing, bong, bong. Neon signs stuck to poles suddenly materialized, embedded in the tiles. Each had the word exit, and an arrow illuminated in flashing neon pink. The signs stretched out before him. They all pointed into the distance. "Oh, this is hopeless. We aren't going to make it. There isn't enough time," Bob cried as he turned again to see the metal beasts closing in, now only 1 football pitch length away. Suddenly Bob had an idea. "A wall! Please create a massive wall behind me!" Bong, bong, bing. "And stop with the binging bongs!" Affirmative. Building a wall, the PA lady said, without the sense of urgency Bob would have liked, and without the ending bongs. It worked. A wall that stretched the width of a football pitch and was 10 feet high appeared between Bob and the wolves. "Yes!" Bob declared victoriously, but very wheezily. Seizing the opportunity to breathe, Bob slowed his run to a jog and fished out the blue inhaler from underneath Bite. Slowing to a stop, Bob took a puff on his inhaler. As he breathed in, one of the gnarled metal wolves appeared around the end of the wall to his right. Another wolf appeared round the left end. There was a scrambling sound, and a 3rd wolf appeared at the top of the wall. This wolf had a black mane and was far larger than the others. It glared at Bob, making grating electronic snarling sound. Lifting its head to the sky, the black-maned wolf let out the most dreadful howl. The howl had the same grating electronic edge, but was so loud it hurt Bob's ears. "Ah!" Bob shouted, covering his ears to try and muffle the noise. The howling stopped as the black-maned alpha wolf jumped 10 feet off the wall and landed with more grace than expected, giving its massive hulk. Stalking towards Bob, the left and right wolves made a beeline for the alpha wolf, joining the hunt. Frozen on the spot, Bob breathed heavy, chest heaving. His life would have flashed before his eyes were it not for the fact that his only memories consisted of walking and eating. "Move, you idiot, move!" His feet remained rooted to the ground. "Yip, yip, yip!" Bite jumped from the raincoat pocket onto the floor, growling at the approaching wolves, now no more than a basketball court away. "Bite, no!" Bob's concern for the dog broke his frozen state. Picking up the brave little guard dog, Bob turned on his heel and made one last-ditch dash. "Nice PA, lady. We need an exit. Now!" "Affirmative. Please wait," came the reply. "I can't wait." The overlapping scraping of claws on tiles grew louder and louder as the gnarled metal beasts closed in. Bite was cradled in Bob's arms and still growling at the pursuers. Bob risked a glance. The alpha wolf was just in front of the others, jaws grinding and gnashing in anticipation of the boy they were about to devour. "Now! I need an exit now! No, I'm going to die. I failed to protect Bite." Bob's left lace aglet finally caught under his right heel. He tripped and fell. The sudden shock created the illusion of falling in slow motion, his body twisting, and he landed on his back and then skidded a short distance across the tiles before stopping. Horror-struck, Bob could only stare as the three metal beasts, with their glowing red eyes, leaped into the air to close the short distance between him and them. The wolves plunged towards Bob and his tiny dog, with jaws open and terrible claws forward. Bob curled up, bracing for the impact, covering his face with his arm. Exit confirmed. Suddenly, the tiny little floor directly underneath Bob dropped to a slant, and still clutching Bite, Bob slid under and away, narrowly escaping the black-maned wolf as it landed in the spot that Bob had occupied only a whisper of a moment earlier. The wolf was too large to slide down. It scrambled, trying to stand upright, its underbelly blocking what was now an opening in the floor.